In Ecuador, the National Electoral Council confirmed the deployment of multiple security agents ahead of the second round of the presidential elections to be held on October the 15th. During the plenary session of the 20th meeting of the Valdad International Discussion Club, the Russian President Vladimir Putin stressed that his country has had to respond to constant geopolitical pressure. In Syria, a drone attack during the graduation ceremony of a military college in the city of Homs has left at least 80 dead and 240 wounded. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll begin with the news. Stay with us. In Ecuador, the authorities of the National Electoral Council reaffirmed that the deployment of multiple security organizations for the second round of the presidential elections to be held on October the 15th. The Minister of the Interior of the country informed that members of the armed forces will guard the more than 4,000 polling stations. In this sense, the commander of the National Police, General Fausto Salinas, points out that the group of at least 53,707 law enforcement agents will be in charge of the areas outside the voting centers. In turn, the president of the governing entity assured that together with the Ministry of the Interior and the National Police, they will seek to hold these elections in a peaceful manner.
At this moment, we want to inform the citizens of the progress that we have made in coordination with the National Police and the Armed Forces regarding to the security guarantees that will be provided to the citizens so that on October 15 they can go with absolute tranquility as it happened. Thanks to the efforts of the National Police and the joint work of the Armed Forces, and thus can live through Democracy Party.
Also, the Minister of the Interior, Juan Zapata, ratified the entity's interests on the security of the voters.
I believe that one of the decisions that were taken and that were very wise and that the Ministry of Education has once again ratified is that the sites can be taken over by the public forces as of Wednesday, which obviously guarantees that we generate the peace of mind that citizens need.
General Fausto Salinas in turn informed that a contingent of more than 53,000 law enforcement officers will be in charge of the areas outside the voting centers.
We are already planning to be able to provide the security service required by citizens in this important electoral process to be held on October 15. We have assigned 53,707 police officers of the Preventive, Investigative and Intelligence Axis, who will perform several functions. In the security area, we will be in charge of the electoral presence. The external part, we will be in charge of the electoral warehouses and also of the electoral headquarters, both national and provincial.
Mexico's Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Alicia Bárcena, held a meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. During the high-level security dialogue between Mexico City and Washington, Bárcena assured of the government's firm commitment to fight against synthetic drugs trafficking, whose consumption has caused harm to the U.S. citizens. The society is my partner. For his part, Blinken indicated that it is necessary to redouble the efforts to reduce the illicit flow of drugs, as well to bring to justice the criminal networks that benefit from the violence.
We'll discuss how we can redouble our efforts to stem the illicit flow of weapons from the United States into Mexico and synthetic drugs from Mexico into the United States. We'll look at how we can strengthen prevention and treatment efforts to help those who are struggling with addiction in both of our countries and reduce demand for fentanyl, for methamphetamines, and other illegal substances.
Mexico's Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Alicia Bárcena, spoke of how her country is facing a historic dilemma.
We are facing a historical dilemma. Either we take advantage of the geopolitical context that places in North America in an extraordinary economic situation to build a true binational and regional community that allows for increased trade, investment, social inclusion, and employment, or we allow the device and hostile rhetoric of those who see us as adversaries and not as partners and allies to proliferate. Mexico's bet is to be partners.
Let's take a very short break, but remember you can now join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. Russia had a plenary session of the 20th meeting of the Valdai International Discussion Club opened on Thursday in the city of Sochi with the participation of the country's President Vladimir Putin. During the event, the Russian president stressed that the world has experienced great changes in the last 20 years and set as a goal for Russia to construct a new world. Putin recalled that Moscow, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, involved itself with all its energy and goodwill in the construction of a new world order that is fearing, since Russia is capable of making a huge contribution and it has something to offer to the whole world. The president declared that Russia has always learned lessons from history, strengthening national unity and integrity.
The prosperity of the West was largely achieved by robbing the colonies over the centuries. This is a fact. In fact, this level of development was largely achieved by robbing the entire planet. The history of the West is, in essence, a chronicle of endless expansion. Our arguments, exhortations, calls for reason and proposals were simply ignored. I have already said this publicly, including to our allies, our partners, that there was a moment when your humble servant simply suggested that maybe we should join NATO, but no, NATO does not need such a country.
During the forum, the Russian president commented on Russia's ongoing conflict with Ukraine and made it clear that Russia did not start the war. Let's hear it.
We did not start the so-called war in Ukraine. On the contrary, we are trying to end it. It was not us who organized the coup in Kiev in 2014, a coup that was bloody and unconstitutional. Wherever it happens, we immediately hear all the world's media, subordinated, first of all, of course, to the Anglo-Saxon world. It's not allowed, it's impossible, it's undemocratic, but here it is possible. They even named the amount of money that was spent on this coup. Unfortunately, we have to admit that our counterparts in the West have lost their sense of reality and have crossed all possible boundaries. They shouldn't have done it.
Putin commented that Russia is not eager to conquer the new territories as advertised by Western propaganda, because they still have regions within Russia to develop, and stress the strategies of the United States to establish the rule of colonial regime.
Russia is the biggest, largest country in terms of territory in the world. We have no interest in terms of conquering any additional territories. We still have to develop Siberia, Eastern Siberia, the Far East, and so on. This is not a territorial conflict, not even an establishment of a regional geopolitical balance. The question is more broader and more fundamental. We are talking about the principles on which the New World Order will be based. Our Western colleagues, especially from the United States, not only arbitrarily set such rules, but also teach who should implement them and how, who should behave and how. This is all done and said, as a rule, in an openly boorish manner. This is the same manifestation of this colonial thinking. We hear all the time, it is said all the time, you must, you are obliged, we are seriously warning you. Who are you?
Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu inspected the organization of combat training of servicemen and volunteers at training camps in Russia's southern military district, the defense ministry reported. According to the accompanying text, Shoigu observed the use of combat drones to destroy military equipment and enemy targets. Servicemen develop special skills in drone control, performing reconnaissance tasks, directing and adjusting artillery fired. During firing training, the soldiers fired with various types of guns. The President of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, promulgated a law on suspension of the agreement with Ukraine, which regulated the process of resettlement. The President points out that the decision adopted by the Parliament was a response to the unfriendly actions of Kiev against the country, such as the closure of the border and the unilateral withdrawal from the interinstitutional agreements. However, the authorities informed that the law will have no effect on the relocations and integration of migrants, nor will it affect the legal status of Ukrainian citizens. On Thursday, the Slovak President Zuzana Kaputova denied providing Ukraine with another military package due to the victory on the parliamentary elections of former Prime Minister Robert Fico's direction Social Democracy Party. The Defense Ministry took the initiative to allocate the next aid package to Kiev, to which the head of states objected and considered it necessary to respect the results of the recent vote in the nation. Kaputova considered that ignoring the position of the party that won the elections will create an unfortunate precedent for the future of the country. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, where you'll be able to watch your interviews, top stories, special broadcasts, and more. Hit the subscribe button and active the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. One final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. Syria drone attack during the graduation ceremony of a military college in the city of Homs has left at least 80 dead and 240 wounded. The preliminary figures were reported by the Minister of Health on Thursday. The official also noted that among the 80 deaths are 6 women and 6 children. Among the wounded are also 55 women and 22 children. The Arab country's government declared a 3 days of mourning in memory of the victims. Since Thursday, in Addis Ababa, the peace and security bodies of the United Nations and the African Union have been discussing the financing of peacekeeping operation carried out under the aegis of the Pan-African Organization on the continent. The member countries of the United Nations Security Council and the African Union Peace and Security Council are holding their annual meeting on Thursday and Friday in the Ethiopian capital headquarters of the African Union. African Union Peace and Security Commissioner Ban Khaled Al-Ayed called on participants to specifically address the central issue of predictable, adequate, flexible and sustainable funding for the continental organization's peacekeeping operation in Africa.
The importance of African-led responses with predictable, sustainable and flexible financing will be as part of a toolkit for responses to conflicts and crises in Africa, alongside the United Nations, and financing AU-led PSOs would therefore strengthen the ability of both organizations in jointly addressing peace and security threats on the continent.
Bangladesh received the first shipment of Russian nuclear fuel for the nuclear power plant in the western city of Rampur as part of the cooperation agreements for strengthening and developing the economy and energy sector. Russian President Vladimir Putin participated in a video conference with representatives from the International Atomic Energy Agency and the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. During the conference, Putin emphasized that the nuclear power project benefits both nations and strengthens their cooperation. Russian President Vladimir Putin declared at the ceremony of delivery of Russian nuclear fuel to Bangladesh that the project will contribute to expand energy needs and help promote Bangladesh economy.
Rosatom is building two power units simultaneously using 3+ generation reactors with a total capacity. Colleagues have already said this, of 2,400 megawatts in order to physically launch the first unit as early as next year, 2024, and the second in 2025. After reaching full design capacity, the station will be able to provide about 10% of Bangladesh's energy consumption. 10% is a large amount, meeting the energy needs of the growing Bangladeshi economy and thereby reducing the country's dependence on coal and gas generation.
On Thursday, the authorities report a wildfire on Tenerife's Holy Island, which the Spanish military tried to put out as a not-live overpass against land ravage, which were under control. The military emergency unit report 120 experts work on extinguishing the fire in our eastern island. On Wednesday, the wildfire range led to evacuate 3,200 locals from Santa Ursula and La Orotava town, respectively. The August wildfires burned out around 15,000 woodland hectares till September the 11th. On Thursday, the Indian rescue teams searched for 102 people missing after devastating flash floods triggered by a high-altitude glacial lake burst killed at least 10 people. Rescuers were battling to help those hit by the floods, with communications cut across large areas and roads blocked. 22 soldiers are among the missing, and one previously missing soldier was rescued. The Army was working to re-establish telephone connections and provide medical aid to tourists and local strength.
Yesterday in the morning at around 3:45, the flash flood hit suddenly and at once, so we couldn't take out any of our belongings from the house. 2 cars and 12 houses were washed away. 6 rafting boats, which were our source of income, also got washed away. We rescued people and took them to safe locations. In all, 22 houses were damaged. We thought the water level would not rise as it was very low. But as the water level was released from the dam, the level started rising slowly and had almost reached its limits. But then, after the dam burst, our houses were washed away. We had relocated ourselves to higher ground. All our houses are damaged.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For teleSUR English and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.